From 10 Tampa Bay, this is a Weather Impact Alert.
All right, guys, let's take a look at that 5 p.m. number once again. 165 mile per hour winds. Yeah, back up to a Cat 5. Cat 5 on the Saffir-Simpson wind scale, and it's actually now called the wind scale. If you're an old timer like me, it used to be just the Saffir-Simpson scale, and it had the winds, it had the pressure, and it had storm surge kind of categorized on it. And we've learned over time that they're not always the same, and so this just the wind scale. A Cat 5 starts at 157, and there's no top end to it. So yesterday at 180, it was still a Cat 5, but it's at Cat 5 now at 165. 905 is the pressure, and that eye obviously looks very, very good right now. So here's that 5 p.m. forecast track. You can see turning to the northeast, finally starting that turn today. And then gradually tomorrow, this is tomorrow at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it's weakening a little bit. But also, you notice it's also starting to turn a little more back to the east tomorrow. That's that wind shear and the trough coming down to pick this thing up and kick it out. It's going to kick it out over to the east. In fact, you can see the forecast track takes it east-northeast across Florida by Thursday afternoon, and then it's off the coast of Cocoa Beach by the time you get towards Thursday evening, and it's moving out almost due to the east. So we've got a lot of things that we're trying to get to happen all at the same time and figure out where this is going to go. Now, there's the line now. You can see it's pretty much, this is obviously where it has been. This is the forecast line from the Hurricane Center. So this thing will wobble a little bit. But what we're watching for is, does it end up on the left side of the line for a while or on the right side of the line? Because what happened earlier today, it was on the right side of the line. And so instead of coming up like this, it's coming up like that right now, and so that shifted it. So the track ended up coming down towards Sarasota because of that. So eye wall replacement cycle. Look at that, guys. Not much of an eye there that you could see. Wow, that is impressive. 165 mile per hour winds around there. They've been talking about all kinds of turbulence, as you can imagine, for the hurricane hunters that are out there. And in fact, you can see them flying all the way around. So the big circle here, I mean, the conspiracy theories, guys, online have been crazy the last few weeks especially, but it seems like the last 6 months. This circle that you see here, that one right there, that is one of the Gulf Streams. And that's a smaller jet that flies around the outside of the storm and then especially out ahead of it. And so they're taking measurements. On land, we've got a lot of weather stations, right? And we can feed all of that actual data into the models. We don't have a lot out here over the water. So they fly the plane in what looks like a weird kind of shape to some people, but that's what it's doing. And then we've got the P3s and the C-130s that are going right into the middle of the storm, and they're the one giving us those wind speeds and pressures. Now, from that data, the model goes in the Hurricane Center and those other models, and they're saying that by 4, 5, 6 o'clock tomorrow, we start seeing tropical storm force winds. Highest impact for the winds as it moves on shore are going to be Pinellas, Hillsborough, Lakeland, Manatee, and Sarasota County. Those will be the most, and when you can see it does push inland. So Polk, Hardy County, yeah, we're going to get quite a bit. The timing from the Hurricane Center shows around 2 o'clock. The winds right along the coast, starting to get around 40 miles per hour. 60 mile per hour winds closer to 9 o'clock tomorrow evening. And then hurricane force winds, which is 74 or higher, that's around midnight, and that's right before the eye comes on shore around 2 or 3 o'clock. Depending on it, it's going to shift a little bit. But look at the hurricane force winds here. That's where you're going to have most of your wind damage, right? And then it's going to continue to push right across the state as we go through the day on Thursday. Most of that is occurring during the morning hours, right? Before sunrise along the west coast, and then you can see by early afternoon on the east coast before it moves offshore. Storm surge. There have not been major changes on this one, except for now Fort Myers is up to 8 to 12. They were 5 to 10 before, but because the shift of the track is more towards Sarasota, which is still sitting at 10 to 15, you could expect wherever it goes in and to the south to have the highest surge. If it were to hold down here in Sarasota, you would get less surge in Tampa Bay. They have not cut back on those surge numbers yet for Tampa Bay. So we're going to keep watching it right now. I do think that basically it is a chance that it comes down, but it's just so close. You can't not plan to not have some high surge, and so 10 to 15 will stay. All right, here's Colleen Campbell with the latest on what the impacts would be in your county.
Thanks, Bobby. Yeah, starting off in Citrus, Hernando, and Pasco County, you can see the winds will be pretty strong there. Again, we have tropical storm force winds and hurricane force winds just on those outskirts of those counties. Surge 5 to 10 feet. Surge numbers you are going to see get greater, but this is impacting areas from Crystal River down to Newport Richey. Of course, Newport Richey a little bit further to the south there, so that will have more of an impact than places like River Wood. Flash flood threat also exists for these northernmost areas. Again, remember, we have those outer bands of the rain that's really going to be wrapping in and hitting these areas hard. Moving into Pinellas and Hillsborough County, this is where we have the highest risk for surge threats at this time, and that also exists for Manatee and Sarasota counties as well. So the numbers will be very similar there. The winds also hurricane force winds here, 80 to 110 miles per hour. And what you need to know is you should be out of those zones completely, A, B, and C for Pinellas and Hillsborough counties. Moving down to Manatee and Sarasota, a lot of the same numbers here, again, affecting areas like Anna Maria. They had that evacuation order yesterday. Bradenton, Sarasota, Vamo, we have surge 11 to 15 feet possible. That's way higher than what we had for Helene. Helene, our max surge was around 8 feet for places like Clearwater, 7 to 8 feet. So you can imagine the damage that can do. And moving inland, don't forget, a lot of you that may be watching right now are probably watching from inland locations. That was your evacuation order. Get out of those zones. But don't forget, we will have impacts here too. Power outages likely here. Also, you have that tornado threat. This is for areas like Wauchula, Frostproof, Lake Wales, people in Highlands County, Polk County. You likely will see those tornadoes spawn up. Manatee and Sarasota counties as well. Don't forget, they come on as water spouts, maybe last 15, 20 minutes. But here's the thing with the power outages, don't forget that the ground is saturated right now. Those big palm trees, I went along our barrier islands. I saw several palm trees knocked over from Helene. Now that the ground is soft and just filled with water and we have more surge on the way, plus those strong winds, you can imagine how easily those trees can topple. So anybody that's expecting power outages, again, we are going to have a big impact with that. Tornado probability as well. What you need to know is if you're somebody that has a CPAP machine, needs it plugged in, you need a source for electricity if the power goes out. If you're somebody that has medications that needs to be in the refrigerator, you need to have a source for if that power goes out. These are all things that you should be thinking about. Fill a cooler with ice right now. Freeze some bottles of water. Anything that you can do to just save yourself a little bit of frustration when the power goes out. And of course, we will have those local impacts a little bit more, focusing on that in the next hour.
Thanks, Colleen. We're going to check in with Chris Hurst, who is following evacuees along I-4 when we come back. You're watching 10 Tampa Bay and our continuing coverage of Hurricane Milton.